When 8-year-old Elizabeth Collins and 10-year-old Lyric Cook, who were cousins, went for a bike ride on a sweltering hot July 13th, 2012 afternoon, they never could have imagined the horrors that awaited them moments later. Sadly, the girls' bicycles were found at the southeast corner of Myers Lake in Evansdale, Iowa, as was one of the girls' purses, with a cell phone in it, sitting next to the lake in some grass. The girls' bodies were found in December of 2012, roughly 5 months later, at Seven Bridges Wildlife Area, 20 miles northeast of where their bicycles were found. Police drained Myers Lake. They had dogs out. They sent out bulletins to the FBI, and every investigative unit you can imagine became involved in this case, understandably so. Sadly, though, the girls' bodies were found, and to this day, no one has ever been convicted or charged of this crime. And one of the things that's always bothered me is the fact that the two girls probably had to have been taken significantly farther away from where their bikes were found than people realize in order to even be abducted. This was an extremely, extremely ballsy crime, people. And why do I say that? Well, first, obviously, it's in broad daylight. But secondly, you can see here, the area I'm circling is where the girls' bikes were found. So from here, you have to walk probably another 40 or 50 yards just to get to this clearing out here that's south of Arbutus Avenue. And if you look here, granted, this is a winter photo, but this is the southeast corner of Myers Lake. And in the left side of this photograph, you see this chain fence here that's locked. Well, this was open on that day for whatever reason, and this is where the girls' bicycles were found. Now, if you notice, to get to the opening or the clearing at the end of the southeast part of this path by Arbutus Avenue, you have to walk another 30 or 40 yards, probably 50 or 60 yards actually, to even get to this opening or to get to this clearing in the first place. And when you get to that opening and clearing, when it's grown in, you can see this is what it looks like. Then when you get out to that opening, as you can see, Arbutus Avenue is to the left of the path, which is facing north, and there is almost a football field-sized patch of grass with a few trees off to the left here, or the north, toward Arbutus Avenue, to even get from this part of the path to an actual roadway. And now obviously you can see if the girls were abducted where their bikes were found, you have to probably walk another 100 to 150 yards at least to even get to anywhere where a vehicle could be parked, unless, of course, you believe that somebody drove their vehicle on this path and then abducted them, which I doubt, because that would make it even more gutsy in broad daylight. I've even explored the thought that maybe along this roadway here, south of Myers Lake, the girls could have been abducted by somebody pulled over on the side of the road, etc., making it a shorter distance. But again, to our knowledge, nobody saw anything like that going on, and there were no holes in the fence, so the girls would have had to have scaled the fence for that to happen, which I doubt. Furthermore, there was a trucker traveling along this roadway that said he saw the two girls walking their bicycles, suggesting they were extremely tired. So somebody offering them water, a ride, something, probably would have been much more likely to get away with this crime simply because of them being hot, tired, thirsty, because the girls were 3/4 of a mile or a mile away from their house. And again, the temperatures reached the middle 90s. This was the middle of July. So as you can see, here's another photograph facing southeast, the southeast corner of the lake. And as you can see, there's a huge tree line. It's all grown in. And so for these girls to have been accosted and abducted where their bikes were found, someone had to march them all the way out 100+ yards onto Arbutus Avenue without making a huge fuss, without being noticed, without raising any suspicions, in broad daylight, a double abduction, and then have gotten away with it. The other thing that haunts me is the fact that there was an eyewitness in an HBO documentary that states that afternoon she saw a man with one young girl about the age of these two girls carrying her on his shoulder, and another girl, and the two seemed like they were upset or resisting, and she didn't think anything of it at the time. But that was at the intersection here, just north of Myers Lake, at the intersection of Elmer and Gilbert Drive. That makes me wonder, were the girls marched under some sort of a ruse to Arbutus Avenue? And did they actually get out of the vehicle or escape their abductor at Elmer and Gilbert Drive? And were they then placed back into a vehicle and re-abducted again? I'll be interested to know what you all think in the comments. But again, the reason I'm making this video is simply to point out that these girls had to have been marched a much longer distance. Like I've said, 1,000 feet or more from where their bikes were found to get to anywhere where a vehicle would even be able to potentially have taken them. And we don't know what the FBI or the Iowa Criminal Bureau of Investigations or anybody has in this case because they're being so tight-lipped. So it's entirely possible that if you name the suspect in this case, they may have a fingerprint on one of the girls' wallets, they may have fingerprints or DNA on their bicycles, or they may have some sort of forensic evidence that was left at the crime scene 20 miles away where the girls were found at Seven Bridges Wildlife Area. So again, if you have any information about this crime, please do not hesitate to contact investigators or law enforcement, because even a seemingly insignificant tip can lead to the resolution of this sort of crime. We've seen it time and time again. People who think that their tips are insignificant or don't mean anything wind up solving unsolved cold cases. Let's hope that's the case here one day. Thanks for watching, everybody.